This episode of WheelHouse is made possible by Fixed. Stay tuned to the end of the episode for a special offer only for WheelHouse fans. When I was in college, I drove a 1996 Honda Passport. It wasn't fast, but I loved that car. There's only one thing that bugged me about it. No matter what I fixed and replaced, that dang check engine light would always find its way to turn back on. Lucky for me, that Honda was easy to work on. But as cars get more complicated, it won't be that way forever. It seems the American tradition of repairing your car in your driveway on a Sunday afternoon is becoming less of a custom and more of a distant memory. Increasingly complicated systems and reliance on computers has made even regular maintenance like brake jobs out of reach for a lot of owners of new cars. So how did it get this way? And will you even bother to work on your car in the future? Let's dig in. As long as there have been things that need fixing, there have been mechanics. Even before the car, there were skilled repairmen working on horse-drawn carriages, steam engines, bicycles, anything that could be broken. With the introduction of the automobile in the late 1800s, drivers started bringing their busted rides to these same guys, who had more than enough skill to work on these primitive cars. Machinists and blacksmiths decided to devote their entire businesses to automotive repair and maintenance. Most dealerships opened up their own shops, and gas stations did as well. If you were in a car-friendly city, there was a good chance there'd be someone there to work on your car. By the end of the 1920s, there was an estimated 60,000 service shops in the US. But what if you didn't live near a shop? Well, you had to do it yourself. When the Model T debuted in 1908, it was many Americans' first experience with car repair. Because tires blew out on a regular basis, it was mandatory for drivers to know how to change them. Many owners learned how to repair other problems from manuals or experience on the farm. It also became fashionable to do small repairs out of convenience and even fun. The simplicity of the Model T made it possible for nearly anyone to get their hands dirty and have a good time wrenching, as most repairs could be made with a screwdriver, wrench, and a hammer. The Model T might not have been the most reliable car ever, but that's okay because it introduced America to regular maintenance. But not everyone was stoked. Alfred P. Sloan was the president of General Motors in the mid-20s, and he thought Henry Ford was stagnating the car market. Never mind the Great Depression, Sloan believed that Ford's one-car-fits-all model was keeping owners from buying new cars, and he was afraid that people would get used to buying one car and maintaining it for the rest of their life. Man, that sounds horrible. So, he came up with a plan. Every year, his brands would release a new model with new features and colors. The goal was to make new and current owners think their car was out of date and that they couldn't possibly live without these new features, even if their current car was just fine. This was a huge boon for the auto industry, and was the beginning of what we would know as planned obsolescence. New models might have been coming out, but that didn't stop people from working on their cars and making them better. The ability of drivers and home mechanics to work on their relatively simple machines gave birth to the tuning scene, or as they called it back then, hot rodding. The whole movement deserves its own episode, but the fact remains that hot rodding changed the American car for decades. Auto execs saw what the kids were doing and decided to build their own hot rods from the factory, giving birth to the muscle car era, which reached its height in the late 60s, early 70s, entrenching itself in pop culture with films like Two-Lane Blacktop and American Graffiti, where it went mainstream and later inspired the super popular retro designs we see in the Mustang, Camaro, and Challenger of today. All of that was because people had the ability to maintain and modify their cars in their own driveways. It was kind of important, but it wouldn't be like that forever. Until the late 70s, there weren't a lot of ways to tell if something was wrong with your car. You just kind of knew, or it was really obvious. Some of them had trouble lights, known affectionately as idiot indicators, that signaled serious trouble with the engine, like low oil pressure, overheating, or charging system problems, and an imminent breakdown. Basically, it only let you know about problems that were patently obvious. I mean, if your oil is low, that's kind of on you. But in the 80s, the magic of computers had arrived. After the trouble light was the malfunction indicator lamp, which was a little more advanced. The MIL appeared in the early 80s along with computerized engine controls. On most cars, the MIL could output codes when two pins on the assembly line diagnostic link, or ALDL, were jumped. The lights would flash codes. For instance, blink, 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 I don't know, blink, blink, blink. It was sort of like a Morse code. You would record the blinks and pauses, then cross-reference them in a service manual and find out what was wrong. These computerized systems gained popularity not because people wanted them necessarily, but because they had to. In 1980, California said, hey, cars are dirty, but it's hard to measure it. If you want to sell a car here, it's got to have an onboard diagnostic system by 1988. So all the manufacturers complied, but they all had their own styles of plugs and systems, which didn't really make California too happy. Furthermore, it could only tell you about failure after it happened, and didn't allow for real-time monitoring, which the California Air Resource Board really wanted for their new emission testing protocol. This new monitoring system was called OBD1, and it was a step in the right direction, but didn't quite meet expectations. All right, Callie said, we'll try this again. If you want to sell a car here in 1996, you're all going to use a standardized system with a standardized 16-pin connector with a standardized pins assigned to specific functions, also standardized electronic protocols, standardized trouble codes, and standardized terminology. That last part is important. Now do it! The new connector was called OBD2 and has been the standard since 1996. It sounds super advanced, but the reality is that any driver can monitor their car's functions in real time with an OBD2 reader like Fixed. So now drivers basically have their own kit system telling them everything that's going on in their cars and letting them know when a problem might be on the horizon. Naturally, this made people even more eager to work on their cars, right? To find out more, I went to AutoMed Car Care, which is right near our office, and talked to Abe. He's been a mechanic for 15 years and knows a lot.
People don't work on their cars as much as they used to before for multiple reasons. The biggest reasons, I think, is the amount of sophistication they use in building the cars nowadays. With all the sensors and computers they have, you need expensive scanners and tools to be able to operate or even do small maintenance work. So you can't just have a screwdriver or a wrench and start taking bolts off of the cars nowadays.
As onboard monitoring systems got more advanced, so did the systems they were monitoring. Cars are no longer the analog, carbureted machines they were almost 40 years ago. They can be really, really complicated. Take, for example, the new Volvo S90 T8. This is the top trim level S90, and it comes with a turbocharged and supercharged engine. On top of that, the T8 is also hybrid with an 87 horsepower electric motor on board, and it's also all-wheel drive. On their own, each of these features takes considerable knowledge to work on, but together, it sounds like a nightmare. But Abe didn't really think so.
I love the challenge, and I love to learn about how cars evolve and the new technology that they put on the cars nowadays. It is difficult, but once you get the hang of it, just like any other profession, it's a pleasure to work on cars and see how they evolve.
Annoyingly, it's this complexity that has made cars today so good. They've never been more efficient or as safe as they are today. But is that worth not being able to do big repairs on your own? Will people even want to work on their car anymore? I'm not so sure, but Abe brought up a great point that I hadn't considered.
Not just cars, computers, phones, it's gonna keep on advancing in technology, and I saw the transition of how we also look at cars, not just the normal individual, and how we find problems and how to solve them. I look at YouTube or search YouTube or Google. There's a lot of forums that tell us about weird problems and how to fix them. So I do believe people are getting back to working on their cars just because of the availability of the information you find online.
People will always find a way to work on their busted stuff, no matter how complicated it is. And with the abundance of information out there for you to find, the only limit is finding it. If you like working on your own car, then you have to check out Fixed. Fixed is a Bluetooth OBD2 reader that connects to your smartphone and shows you everything that's going on in your car. That OBD2 sensor I mentioned earlier, if your car is 1996 or newer, then it's got one. Fixed helps you diagnose any problem your car might have, like a check engine light. It even reminds you to take care of regular maintenance. I've got a Fixed reader in my car and I love it. You can monitor everything from speed to mass airflow rate and even things like engine torque and intake manifold pressure. Fixed is car care made simple, and they have a special offer for WheelHouse fans. Go to fixedapp.com/donut, enter code DONUT at checkout for 10% off your order. Click the link in the description and get your fix today. It's awesome, and it's a product that I actually like, so please use that code. We look at weird stuff from the car world every week, so hit that subscribe button and maybe that little notification bell too. Follow me on IG at Nolan J. Sykes, follow Donut at Donut Media. Wear your seatbelt. See you next time.